feared and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Chasing the Pennant podcast. A rather somber one today, as the Phillies are currently in a 14-1 hole in the ninth inning, and NBC Philly just put up a stat line for what they said was Jacob deGrom, but this guy clearly is not Jacob deGrom. He's a scruffy, bearded left-hander who's on the hill right now. I don't know if you guys saw that or not.
No, it just came up on mine because I'm delayed, so I looked at it. Yeah, it just popped up.
Who's funny? Anyway.
It was Chase something. I missed the last name.
It looks like Shreve, I want to say. Anyway, Phillies in need of a 14-run top half of the ninth inning here. Down 14-1, and back-to-back, pretty bad games. A 5-1 loss yesterday after the series opening 5-3 win. Anyway, I'm your host, Rob, joined today by Andrew. Andrew, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Tough last 24 hours probably for Philly sports fans with the Flyers and New York Islanders there, and then now the Mets are giving us the business. So, it's never fun losing to New York, and that's what the last 24 hours has treated us with.
New York is making us our bitch this weekend. Joined also by Biscuit. How you doing, Biscuit?
Man, I hate the Mets. So you can imagine how much fun I've had over the last two ball games.
As you say that with the fuck the Mets thing you got going on in the background there.
Oh God, I forgot my things. Fuck the Mets still. Man, sometimes you just know, and I guess I knew today.
And joined also, lastly but certainly not least, by Borek. How you doing, Borek?
Doing better than you would expect, because after the Flyers lost, for some reason I thought the Angels would beat the Astros, so I bet on them, and I won $60. So thank you, Los Angeles.
There you go. It's always nice to win some money.
Yeah. But
it's funny. That's funny you went out there and bet on the Angels, considering you just said you think the Angels or the Astros would win.
No. I said I thought the Angels would win. I just had some inclination thinking the Angels would win. It's like God was just like, the Angels are going to win this game. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let me put $15.
He's hearing voices from above. Oh, man. Anyway, as we mentioned before, the Phillies, rough last couple of days, they were so hot they had won 10 out of 11, kind of coming crashing back to earth here up at Citi Field. But they did have a sweep over what is now a pretty poor Nationals team. The kind of the first to worst story there is they're the worst team in baseball right now after winning the World Series last year. But yeah, the Phillies had such a great thing going the last couple of days. Not so much. Are you guys, and Biscuit, we'll start with you, are you ready to sound the alarms yet over these past two games, or do you think the Phillies can rebound and get back to their winning ways?
Ask me again tomorrow, Rob, if they drop another game. Look, they played They won 10 of 11 games. They played excellently. This is probably the most inspiring stretch of Phillies baseball that we've seen in quite some time. The offense especially looks, exponentially magnificent. So 2 games against 2 pretty good pitchers in Seth Lugo, and obviously Jacob deGrom is the, Jesus Christ of pitching in the National League. So, I kind of expected us to at least lose one of those games, and, we're losing 2, so it is what it is. But tomorrow with Zach Wheeler, another one of our real top guys on the mound, going against, I believe, who are we facing? Michael Wacha?
David Peterson.
Oh, David, God only knows who that is. So, look, it's a game we need to win. You got to split the series. If tomorrow the offense continues to struggle, then I'll start to get worried a little bit, because we're getting closer and closer back to that 500 number that I want to be as far away from as possible.
Yeah, it's really a shame out of this 4-game series that we couldn't face Steven Matz, because that's the one pitcher, the Mets pitcher the Phillies always tee off on, and of course we're not facing them. But yeah, hopefully they can get back to their winning ways. It's only a 2-game losing streak. 14-1 can kind of sound some alarms to some people, but you got to remember it's just one game. Borek, what about you? Do you think that this team has the ability to come back from a couple bad losses like this and, right the ship quickly?
Yeah, I honestly think we do. I think this game, I mean, first of all, Nola, we don't usually play good in front behind him. The team just seems to forget what they're doing when Aaron Nola pitches sometimes. And that was the case today. Bohm didn't look a ball into his glove. Reese missed a ball that looked partially like a Bill Buckner play over there. So, yeah, it just wasn't going our way today. Nola wasn't the sharpest he could have been, but he definitely would not have given up 6 unearned runs in his stint if we actually played better. 3 unearned runs out of the 6 is what I meant to say. So that was our defense's fault. And I think yesterday was Howard. He's a young pitcher. He's still learning the game. He's still growing. He had one good start so far. He showed signs and then was off yesterday. So he gave up 3 in 4 innings. I mean, if you're going to lose a game, that would have been the game I thought we lost in the series because you have your young pitcher that's still growing. Today, it was sad to lose because of more the way you lost. Like, I expect to sometimes lose against another good baseball team. It's just the way in which you lost today, you didn't play like a good baseball team. You made bad mistakes. So tomorrow you need to answer back from that, but I believe they will because the Phillies have looked pretty good when Wheeler's doing his thing, and he hasn't had a bad start yet, so knock on wood, but hopefully that doesn't happen tomorrow.
Yeah, they need to get the offense back going again. I mean, the past 2 games, they've only scored 2 runs, both by way of the solo homer. Yesterday was Reese, and today was Andrew Knapp. So other than that, they haven't done anything offensively against these guys. And for a team that's supposed to be pretty stacked offensively, it's supposed to be towards the top of the National League and runs scored in a lot of different offensive categories. That's not a good showing against some good pitchers. So you hope that it's just like, a small funk. They need to get Bryce going again. Yeah. They need to get JT going again. They gave Bryce off the other day to help him snap out of that funk. So hopefully that'll pay dividends.
Yeah, well, DeGrom was just on another level today, though. Yeah, I mean, I don't think if you could have that game could have been 3-0, and I don't think you were going anywhere because he had a 92-mile-per-hour changeup going that looked like a combination of a slurve at times with a changeup with a splitter. So I mean, the luck
he was filthy.
That yeah.
Yeah, I forget who tweeted it, but I saw on Twitter that DeGrom didn't throw one pitch under 92 miles per hour today.
And for the first inning or 2, he was just pumping fastball after fastball by him. He didn't. I think they said he threw a total of 3 or 4 breaking pitches. I think it was like 2 curveballs and one changeup in the first 2 or 3 innings of the game. So he started off, he was just pumping fastballs by him, which is kind of alarming because if the guy's just throwing fastball after fastball, you figure that the hitters would lock in and eventually get around on one. But he was hitting his spots today, and when he did get to those breaking pitches, they had some good movement to him, and he was able to keep the Phillies hitters off balance all day.
Also, Noah's ERA went down. Just as a fun fact, his ERA went down after today.
Yeah, because just about all the runs were unearned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And one more could have been unearned because Hazley misread that ball in center, and that counts as a double. But in reality, that play should have been made for the 3rd out instead of the run scoring. So even one of those earned runs could have been, well, obviously stat-wise it counts as an earned run, but theoretically it should have been unearned as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anyway, Andrew, how do you feel about this? Is this something that do you think this raises any alarms? The Phillies losing in the fashion that they have the past couple of games. Does this feel like the beginning of a losing streak to you, or do you think that it's just a kind of a blip on the radar?
I think it's more just a blimp on the radar, just because in a normal season, I feel like this would happen, and no one makes a big deal out of 2 games, but we have to make a big deal about it this year because of how short a season was. Like if we're 19 and 17 now, so we're 36 games in the season. In a normal season, if this happens and in game 36, 37 or whatever, we'll be like, okay, there's still plenty of games left. But just because of the way, obviously, the season's turned out and it has to be a weird season with only 60, it's definitely more alarming because you can't afford any more mistakes. And I think it was Ruben Amaro today on the broadcast, and he even said it, like, not only was DeGrom pitching today, but you just can't afford that in a shortened season, all the mistakes that were being made. And I think more alarming than than the offense to me is the defense. And I think it was actually you, Rob, that asked the question on Tuesday's show about what we thought about the defense, and I gave him some credit, and you were saying all the different struggling points, and it looks like I gave him way too much credit because since Tuesday, the defense has definitely struggled, and then especially with the performance they had today. So I would say that's more alarming than the offense, just because it's baseball. Hitters are going to go on hot streaks, they're going to go on cold streaks. So I think it was just a bad 2 games or whatever, and obviously DeGrom's one of the best, if not the best, in the NL or MLB. So you wouldn't expect too many runs scored. We all thought this would be a 1-1, 2-1 game. It should have been at least. And then, so I would say, kind of like Biscuit, if we see it in the next couple days, then maybe it becomes more alarming. But for right now, I just think it's just a small little struggle, and I'd expect them to get back to their old ways in these next couple days, especially with, like you guys said, Peterson tomorrow, and then we all know the Red Sox struggling at pitching coming up this week. So if you can't get going against Boston's pitching, then yeah, I'd start sending out the alarms then.
Well, one thing though, David Peterson's good. Like, he's a young prospect that's actually really good. Like, we shouldn't just be acting like this dude's nothing. Like, he's a good lanky left-hander.
I agree with that, but he's not a guy that should come out and one-run us. Like, you should be able to get 3 or 4 runs off him.
Young pitching is normally the guys that come out. David Hale came out and one-run us in his debut, or at least it was his debut against us. So,
No, I agree. I just think a young lefty benefits the Phillies just because, I mean, you see McCutchen and Hoskin. Like, most of our guys are right-handed hitters, and Harper and Didi aren't bad against lefties. So I just think, yes, he's a solid young arm, but he's not a guy that should one-run us again like these last 2 days. Is all I'm saying is you should be able to put up 3 to 4 runs on him at least.
I think something to add too is you can't go back from here. Like, you spent all this time getting over 500, and now it's really go time. There's, only so many days left of the month. You can't spend this time hovering around being a 500 team. Granted, with that being said, a 500 team would probably suffice enough this season to get them into the playoffs. But at the same time, too, to be sustainable and competitive, like, you need momentum heading into this thing. If you're playing mediocre 500 baseball or less than for the rest of the way, like, it's cooked again. And we're kind of just back with all the questions that we've had for the last 3 years if that happens.
well, with the additions, you shouldn't be playing at 500 too, because the bullpen, if you can get good enough starts and offense from people, you shouldn't be playing with 500, especially now you have Suarez back, who after having a bad first inning, they kept in and looked better. So you should be able to build on all those things. You have no reason to really be back at 500, in my opinion, kind of like you were getting at.
Well, yeah, but I feel like this is like, a conversation that we have every year, like going back to the end of the 2018 season into that off season, you get guys like Andrew McCutchen, JT, Gene Segura, Bryce Harper. Like, that's 4 big caliber names who, we thought were really going to usher in a new era of Phillies baseball. And, they won 1 more game than they did the previous season. And same with this season. Like, they've had some success more so than they've had in the past years over their recent winning streak. But at the same time, too, like, you have all these acquisitions that you made. But, at the end of the day, at least for right now, we're still having that conversation about what this team really is. And we saw what they could be over the last several games. But at the same time, now with this losing streak and the fact that they're really only, they're 19-17, so they're only 2 games over 500. Another couple losses, and we're really right back to where we were no more than a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's the thing about this shortened season, though, is that 19 and 17 looks so much different in a 60-game season than it does in a 162-game season. I mean, and at the same time, though, look at the playoff standings. The Phillies they would be in right now as the 2nd seed in the National League East, and even if they fell out of that, they've still got some cushion between that and the second wild card spot. So if they can keep winning at the rate that they have been, then they should be in good shape to make the playoffs. Whereas, in a 162 game season, 19-17, you're thinking, maybe you need to up that winning percentage a little bit if you want to make it. So different season, different circumstances. I think the circumstances, certainly with a shorter season, definitely helped the Phillies this year.
I agree with that.
I agree with that. Plus, that first round, I mean, obviously it depends on matchup because you might get matched up with a good counterpart in pitching. But that first round's the best of three, I believe, right? Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but
yeah,
I think it's best of three.
Sad.
So when you're throwing the first two games out there with Nola and Wheeler, I like your chances to win that first series at least, and then who knows what can happen after that first round.
I think this is going to be a fun October. I think there's going to be a lot of weird things happening, a lot of upsets, and everybody's saying how great the Dodgers are this year, and I just, for some reason, I see them falling apart again in the playoffs.
They always do.
Maybe it'll be the Phillies to do the job against them, depending on how the seeding goes.
It's the Dodger way, Rob.
It is the Dodger way.
Like that song, "We Fall Apart." Down to
Plus, we all know what happens whenever the Phillies and Dodgers face each other in the playoffs. The Phillies dispose of them pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Could you imagine those pitching matchups though too? Clayton Kershaw versus Nola, and then Walker Buehler against Wheeler, or whatever, whatever way it plays out. Obviously,
yeah. It's going to two great young studs. Whoever they decide to be their third pitcher is usually going to be a youngster because they got Gosselin killing it, and then they have Urias pitching pretty good. So,
yeah, it's going to be an interesting October for sure.
I'm usually pretty high on the Dodgers botching it every year, but for some reason, I just feel like I think they're going to pull away with it this year. I don't think the Yankees are, because right now the Yankees are scuffling pretty bad. I'm pretty sure they either lost or are still losing in their game against the Orioles today, and I think they're only about 3-4 games above 500, and they've lost a handful of their last several. So they were kind of my World Series team, but now looking at the Dodgers, and they just seem so complete in every facet of their game. I'd be very surprised if they weren't the ones holding the trophy in October.
Well, Biscuit, as you always say about the Mets.
Borek, you alive?
Okay, he froze on mine too.
Technical difficulties here. I'm sorry, Borek, we totally missed what you were saying because you froze up on us. He froze up again. Technical difficulties. Biscuit, I just wanted to throw in here that the Yankees did indeed lose to the Orioles by a final score of 5-1. So, and they're only, believe it or not, 2 games ahead of the Orioles.
So also F technology. In addition to the Yankees, F technology.
Welcome back, Borek.
Yeah, Tampa's going to win. That's what I was trying to say. I believe Tampa's going to win the World Series. That's what I was trying to get out.
Okay, well, anyway, back to the Phillies. Rough series so far up here in New York, but it was so nice, even though the Nationals are now bottom feeders, so nice to get that sweep, the back-to-back shutouts, and then the series opening win in that the 8-6 win there. 4-game sweep over the defending champion Nationals. Despite the fact that they're bottom feeders right now, they're last place. A, the fact that they're defending champions. B, the fact that they're arguably our biggest rivals right now. Always feels great to be able to have some success against them. And guys, and Andrew, we'll start with you. What's your takeaway from that National series? And do you think that there's anything from that series that the Phillies could build on?
Yeah, I think obviously the bullpen struggled today once the game just got out of hand there. But I think the bullpen overall, I know a couple guys gave up runs here and there, but overall I thought the bullpen looked much better, and I think that's a spot they can build on. You saw them come in, get that save. Workman got the save for in the game Wheeler pitched, I think, which was the third game of the series in the 3-0 game. So that one was close. I know the first game final was 8-6, so another close game. Bullpen was able to get it done. They finished off the game when Nola pitched as well, kept that shutout going. And then Thursday as well, I thought the bullpen was another good sign there. Once Nationals tied it, you kind of got battled there, and then you go into extra innings, and they were able to get the job done. And Parker outside of today has looked really good, so I thought another good building moment for him there. And even for the team as well, I thought it'd be a really strong building just overall with the team. And we all know, I think, like you mentioned, the Nationals continue to creep up as one of my most hated teams as well. I mean, just because they seem to always try to attack the Phillies as well. It looks like they want to build the rivalry as well. And we all know what they tweeted. So I think that also added to the
And they haven't beaten us since then.
Exactly. So I think that added to the taste of the good sweep there. But I think the most important thing out of that series for me was how much better the bullpens looked the last couple games before today's game. So I think that would be one of my biggest building moments from that series.
Yeah, certainly a lot of good things to take away from that. And yeah, the bullpen was, aside from the first game where it seemed like they were doing everything in their power to take Spencer Howard's first major league win away from him. Fortunately, Rhys Hoskins with a big 2-run double in the 8th inning to kind of secure that first win for Spencer Howard. But after that, the back-to-back shutouts, the starting pitching was excellent. The bullpen did their job. And the fourth game of that series, the bullpen was able to come in. And after some shakiness from Hector Neris, they were kind of able to nail it down and get that win. Biscuit, I know the Mets are your most hated team, but I'd imagine the Nationals are probably up there as well. And how does it feel, despite the fact that they're a last-place team, how does it feel for the Phillies to have success against them?
Well, look, they absolutely destroyed the Phillies last year, so it feels glorious to be. What are we, 6-0 against them so far? I think.
Yes,
It is glorious. Yes. And after you have the audacity, and you know what? I get why they did it. They're having a terrible year. They're clearly not going to repeat. The team is dog shit. Steven Strasburg is dog shit. Patrick Corbin is dog shit. Scherzer's melting down. The offense outside of Turner and Juan Soto is dog shit. So, I get it. You're going through it. Why not take a jab at the Phillies? We weren't really, we were getting hot, but we weren't setting the world on fire yet. You could take a jab at us. You usually have good success against us. I get it. But you know what? You better be able to put your money where your mouth is. And you should be ashamed of yourself for that performance. That national social media person should be ashamed of themselves. They should have been fired for what they did. It felt great. Fuck the Nationals. I had such a catharsis when I saw Max Scherzer on TV smashing his glove. I gave up 3 runs. Oh, forget about it. Look, it's a great win. It's a great win.
Putting the Mad in Mad Max.
Yeah, well, look, even if they're a struggling team, look at teams like the Marlins or the Baltimore Orioles. Struggling teams still beat up on the Phillies. Just because they're dog shit or in the last place in the division, it doesn't change the fact that bad teams still beat the Phillies sometimes. But it didn't happen, and the Phillies executed. And my favorite was the game against Scherzer because you just kept tacking on and you just kept nitpicking him. And though you only got the 3 runs against him, you were able to get him out of the game early. And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, generate some insurance runs from there. And that's how you're going to win, by manufacturing those runs and getting deep into the game with your starting pitching. It felt great. It was great to watch it. Fuck the Nationals.
Ending that statement with a bang. I like it.
Like I said, it's just one of those, to tweet that and then to keep tweeting oh, Trey Turner, he beats up on the Phillies so well. Juan Soto has this many home runs again. Give it a rest. Put your baby shark Nationals ring where the sun don't shine, for all I care.
Oh man, we can always count on you to be passionate about these kind of things, and you never fail to come through for us. So great little rant. I'm so
sorry. One last thing, Dan Clark. Y'all know who Dan Clark is, right? He's the one who tweets. I guess I don't know what he does for DC, but he tweets all this shit about Bryce Harper. Where's he been? Thanos snap and he's quiet, he gone, I don't know, but he's another one. He's another one with the Nationals I hate.
He jumped into Patrick Starr's rock.
Oh man, that's good. Yeah, I don't really pay much attention. I've heard of him before. I've seen him tweet stuff and basically just tweeting out of his ass like he always does. But yeah,
that guy's a clown.
Radio silence from him, man, is a beautiful thing. Borek, Do you think that you can match Biscuit's intensity in terms of hatred of the Nationals and how happy and how elated you were that the Phillies could kind of exact some revenge on them this past week?
Oh, I mean, when a team insults you, you want to kick their ass. So once you come in and kick their ass, especially good pitchers, as my dog's making a guest appearance on the show behind us, but especially when you have Alec, but like the big thing for me that I took away is Alec Bohm continues to hit good pitching most of the time, other than today. But most of the time, we face some pretty good pitchers in these past series. Even though Mad Max is declining, it seems he's still a pretty solid pitcher, and we were able to, and he's looking really good. We got hits off of pretty solid pitching. I really liked what I saw, but I mean, if you're going to insult a team, yeah, like Biscuit said, you got to show the hell up. You can't insult a team and then play like the Bad News Bears. Like that don't fly. Like
if you're gonna do something like that, maybe do it in a season in which you have a good team. In a season in which your team is competitive, not when you're a cellar dweller, not when you're riding last place.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Nationals are like an enigma this year. I don't know how they went from, because it's not like they lost a bunch of people. They lost like 2 people. And meanwhile, the Rays have a bunch of injuries, and I can name a bunch of other teams that have a bunch of injuries that are still good. And the Nationals are just like, yeah, we can't win baseball games. It's like, oh.
I mean, look at it. They lost. Okay, they lost Rendon to the Angels. Great player. That is a big loss. Ryan Zimmerman. He's a solid player, but he's a veteran guy who's been past his prime for a while now. So that shouldn't be a huge loss. They still got Soto, who's a great player. They've still got Trey Turner. They've still got a lot of talent in their lineup, and they've still got those 3 aces on the hill. And they're as bad as they are. It doesn't make any sense to me. But it just really.
They touted Carter Kieboom. They're like, oh, we're fine with Anthony Rendon leaving because we have Carter Kieboom, who's going to take over and be amazing. He's only been very meh so far in his career. So if you're going to tout how great this guy, like I think that Dan guy that Biscuit brought up did a couple of times, how great this guy's going to be, well, then he better show the hell up soon, because you look like a bunch of idiots saying that this guy is going to be able to replace Anthony Rendon. So you
mean like the way that we touted Dominic Brown, right?
Well, but that, I mean, I don't know anybody else in the history of baseball that went from hitting like Joe DiMaggio to then being the equivalency of Michael Martinez. So I don't know anybody other than Dominic Brown that has ever done that in a professional career. So.
Oh, man. All right, well, we went over the Phillies' recent stretch of games, of course, the 4-game sweep over the Nationals, and what so far is losing 2 out of 3 to the Mets, but a chance to split the series tomorrow. But going forward, this is going to be a big stretch for the Phillies because they've got a one-day doubleheader at Citizens Bank Park against the Boston Red Sox, another team that has fallen off the side of a cliff this year, just like the Nationals have.
To say the least.
Yeah, and we split with them up in Boston just a few weeks ago, and hopefully getting a better result this time. I mean, honestly, this is a team that we should sweep. And after that, got a day off on Wednesday, and they better rest the hell up on that day off, because after that, they've got a 7-game series. Yeah, you heard that right. A 7-game series over the course of 5 days in that place of doom known as Miami. That's been an absolute, nightmare place for the Philadelphia Phillies over the course of the years. Guys, do you think that their struggles against the Marlins continue, or do you think that with a playoff spot on the line and needing to get these wins down the stretch, the Phillies will be able to turn it around and find some success finally down in Miami? Borek, we'll start with you.
Well, it's going to depend the momentum you build off of these next couple games. If we win one of our next 3 games when 2 of them were against the abysmal Red Sox, that's not going to be good going into Miami. If we're able to take 2 out of 3 or sweep the next 3 games, then I'm going to feel a hell of a lot better going into Miami, because you're playing 7 games. You have to win. Ideally, you have to win it. Now, we should win more than 3 with being a team that's hot now. If you win 2 of your next 3, then that means that this was just a blimp in the road, like we said earlier. But you have to win at least 3 games in a 7-game series. If you don't win at least 3 games in a 7-game series, that's a disgrace. So you probably should be the team to win 4, but you have to win at least 3. Otherwise, you should just wave the white flag and never play the Marlins baseball team again and just forfeit every game against the Marlins in Miami because you're not going to win. So if you need to win at least 3 freaking games in this series, otherwise you should be ashamed of yourself. 7 games.
Oh man, I would say even more. I'd say you would need to win at least 4 games in that series. But Biscuit, when I was talking earlier, I saw you shaking your head, and you looked like you weren't too confident about this upcoming 7-game series. Why don't you explain how you feel about this one?
I mean, it's concerning. Look, the Phillies just can't beat the Miami Marlins, and there's just been nothing to show me yet that they can do that. And what's even more concerning now is that it seems to me at this point the Marlins are in the Phillies' head. It's kind of a running gag in baseball that the Phillies just can't get past this team. And the Marlins are also playing for a playoff spot too. So they really have the same motivation and drive as the Phillies do at this point because they got skin in the game as well. They're looking to, end a playoff drought too. So they're going to bring it. And this is a team that they know in their minds that they can perform well against. And the confidence is going to be there for them. Realistically, the Phillies should wipe the floor with them. I'm over this bullshit. And one thing that I do think could give the Phillies a little motivation is going back to the start of this season with the COVID-19 issues and basically, putting themselves and the Phillies out of commission for quite some time. Players weren't happy about that. I believe it was Andrew McCutchen who was very vocal about, how he was not a fan of what happened and he thought it was very poor of them how they handled the situation. So I think that gives them some drive to really, turn around and say like, hey, you put us in this crappy situation. Like it's time we beat up on you. But even in general, without that, it's time for them to beat up on the Marlins. Realistically, I think it's either going to be a 4-3, 3-4. Either the Phillies win 4, the Marlins win 4. I think it will be a pretty competitive series. But if you want my honest opinion, it should be 5-2. You should win at least 5 of those games. It's going to be a series that really determines what spot the Phillies are going to be in heading into their, final 7 games or so. I don't know how many games left they have after that Marlins series, but it could really set up their playoff expectations, or more so where they're going to rank in terms of, the 8 playoff spots in the NL.
To answer your question, they've got 14 games left after that Marlins series. They got
oh my God, that's a lot.
The 3 games at home with the Mets. They've got the doubleheader. Actually, it's really a 4-game series with Toronto, but it's 2 home and 2 away. I think they're going to play all 4 at Citizens Bank Park, though. They've got a 4-game series on the road against the Nationals with a chance to go to 10-0 on the year against them, which would be fucking awesome. And then the toughest one is the closing out the regular season with 3 games at Tampa.
Ooh. I mean, long-term heading down that, yeah, that race.
The team to win the freaking World Series, and we're closing out the season.
that race seems.
Hopefully, we're ready to clinch a playoff spot by then.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can do it during the National Series. It'll be nice.
Yes. Good thinking, Rob. Good thinking.
I mean, think about it, during all those years. What was it? 07, 08, and 2010. All 3 of those years we clinched against the Nationals. 07, we clinched on the last day. 08, we clinched on the second to last day. And then 2010 down in D.C. It was, if I remember correctly, it was Doc's 20th or 21st win of the season. And we clinched down in D.C. then. So, yeah, it could be like old times, clinching down in D.C.
So you heard it here, Phillies. If you can clinch on the 20th against Toronto, lose. And then win it.
Right?
No, don't do that, because knowing the Phillies, they lose out the season somehow and then miss the
Oh, man. You just know that would happen. Anyway, Andrew, that 7-game series could set up some interesting situations as far as the starting pitching goes, and not just for the Phillies, but also for the prospect of definitely facing Sixto Sanchez at least once, maybe even twice. What do you make of the potential of facing, or the the guarantee right now of facing Sixto. And what do you think the Phillies do with their starting pitching situation for 7 games over the course of 5 days?
First, I think on the Sixto part, I mean, obviously, I don't want him to kill us, but I'm excited to watch him like firsthand against our team. I think, I mean, we all know what he's capable of, and I'm sure we've all been following him along to this point, and he's looked nothing short besides phenomenal so far. And let's just say this: if he comes out and dominates and goes seven innings of like 1 or 2 run ball, gets the win or something, Clentac better be ready to sign JT pretty fast because
Yeah, right.
if we get to watch this firsthand and we lose JT. Let's just say it's going to be. I mean, obviously, if we lose JT anyway, it's going to be an angry fan base. But then after witnessing this kind of start against us, it's going to only go even more crazy. So I think this is a big week for Clentac too, in that sense. But no, I'm excited. I'm kind of excited to watch Sanchez pitch against us, just to see what he has firsthand. Obviously, we got to see him in the minors. For those who got to go to the minor league games and everything. But now we get him in the MLB, so that'd be exciting. As far as the Phillies. Borek, you mentioned earlier with Vince Velasquez he'll get a start here probably. Outside of that, I don't know what you're going to be able to do because I get 7 games, but like you can't really throw guys twice in that series unless you're only going to have them go 3 or 4 innings. So I think you're going to have to see a bullpen game at some point, whether it's a Rangers Suarez
who's on
start.
our roster, like who's on? I'm trying to think because we traded Seabold. Who's on the taxi squad that is a starter?
I
can't even think off the top.
I don't think any. I can't think of any names off the top of my head. That's why I was going to agree with what you just said, Andrew. Maybe Ranger Suarez gets a start as an opener, and maybe they intend on him throwing 3 or 4 innings, something like that.
I think that's what you're going to have to do, unless. I mean, I don't know the travel situation would be a lot, but I don't know how much you can play with your roster and like the options players have. But maybe you throw Vince on that Thursday, and then he gets options to AAA. You call somebody up, and then you kind of mix and match that way. Because I mean, I don't think anybody wants to see it, but I think we still have some guys. I guess Cole Irvin actually got cut, didn't he? I was gonna say he would still be on the taxi squad, I think, right?
I believe so, yeah.
So, I mean, he would, if you kind of do that, you let Vince start Thursday, then Friday you say, Vince, you're going to be optioned to the taxi squad for just this game. You call up a Cole Irvin or something like that. I mean, obviously, none of us want to see that happen. But I think when you got 7 games and 7 games in 3 or 4 days, it's something you have to do. And besides the fact you can't even eliminate the first half of the week, you're going to play 10 games in 7 days or Monday to Sunday. That'd be about 10 games in 6 days. So, I mean, these pitchers' arms are going to be thrown to the max. I mean, the bullpen's got to be ready. It's going to be interesting and wild to see how they kind of manage this because I don't see how you get out of it I mean, I don't think you're going to see any pitchers go 8 or 9 innings this week or 7 or even 7 innings just because you can't afford it, I think.
Well, one of the things about the series is that Friday is a doubleheader and Sunday is a doubleheader. So 4 of those games are going to be just 7 innings. So maybe they go the route of all 4 of those games. Maybe the starting pitcher only goes 4 innings and you can kind of save their arms a little bit. And maybe that'll give them some sort of flexibility or, the option to kind of do more with their pitching staff. So they've got that going for them, at least that, they got the 4 games that are only 7 innings.
Yeah. That's kind of an interesting argument, though, because some people probably argue that the other way. If you're just pitching 7 innings and Nola looks really good, Wheeler looks really good, just leave them.
Yeah,
Don't even bother with the bullpen. And then if we need a bullpen game in one of these other doubleheader games, you have a rested bullpen. So there's also the flip side of that as well. You could just leave them go for the 7 innings, and you don't need to use anybody.
That is true. It all depends on which way Girardi wants to go with it. Like, because if he's going to go more bullpen games and you try to get a guy to go in 2 or 3 times this week, then yeah, you'd limit the innings. But if you're going to go your route and just say you're only going to get the games you're scheduled for, then yeah, you'll try to stretch them. So it all depends on which way Girardi wants to go.
And I feel like you should do it the other way because if you're trying to win, I think it should be like, I can't remember what game I was watching, but on MLB TV they said you have to consider, especially in a 60-game season, everything by the day you're in. Because if you're not winning every game, no matter what it does to tomorrow, even if it makes you pretty much lose tomorrow, You need to try to win that game in a 60-game season and hope you can figure out how to win tomorrow. So that's kind of how I think you have to approach it. So if Wheeler's dealing and you take him out in the fifth, I would want to kick Joe Girardi's ass. So that's what I'm saying. You need to be able to kind of push it a little bit if you're trying to win, and try to also have a chance to win the division if you actually go on a run again. So
yeah. Does anyone know that Jojo Romero used to be a starter? Could he
Yes.
get a start maybe? Maybe him
he
in.
used to be a starter. Yeah.
So maybe you let him go along with Suarez one of those games, but it's going to be interesting what Girardi does. That is for sure. It's going to be
Didn't Blake
especially
open last year? We could open Parker again, I guess, as an opener. Didn't he do that one time last year?
I don't remember if he did. I mean,
The way that he pitched today, though, I'm not feeling too confident in that.
Hey, no, he probably just came in and went, "Who the hell cares? I'm just throwing this over the plate."
But I think it's going to be with two kind of older, experienced managers with Girardi and Don Mattingly. I think it's going to be could be kind of fun to see how they both go about it. You might kind of get into a manager kind of chess game at some point, so that could be fun.
A good point.
Yeah, because I forget who brought it up. Is Andrew? It's either you or Biscuit that the Marlins are actually fighting for a playoff spot too, and that's something that we're not used to. Every time we play them, we kind of just take it for granted that they're a rebuilding team, that they're not in contention. But being at 17-17, like I said, with the 60-game season, they're right there. They're only technically a game behind the Phillies right now, so they're going to be. I mean, if they can kind of keep pace with the Phils over the next few days, then they're going to be right there with us when that series starts. So it's not like they're just going to be rolling over and just, testing guys out and testing out prospects and whatnot. They're going to be putting their best foot forward as well. So it's not going to be an easy series for the Phillies.
And they've had guys come up that played very well. Every prospect they've seemed to have called up already is like the one kid came up today, got his first hit, and then made a diving play. So, like, everybody they seem to be calling up is kind of falling into place, which is scary when you're going up against a freaking 7-game series coming up. So,
and then you consider that their whole damn team plays well against us, too.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Some guy off the street. And, yeah.
They got Miguel Rojas, who is the new Martin Prado.
Yes.
Anyway, and also, it's worth considering after this series that the pitching gymnastics, if you will, don't end there, because this is just the start of 18 games, in 14 days without any days off in that period of time from the start of the Marlins series until the end of the National Series. So it's the pitching gymnastics will not end with the Marlins series. They've got some things that they got to figure out after that as well.
Yeah. Going to be really tough. I mean, nobody wants 18 games and 14 freaking. Thank you, Marlins.
Right?
I mean, you guys alluded to earlier too with them fighting for a playoff spot. Not only is that huge, but like depending on the way it shakes out, obviously the top two get locked in to the spot, and then you don't have to worry about the wild card. So essentially, you're only a game and a half up right now over them. So depending on the way that 7-game series shakes up, that really could make or break your season. Like you mentioned, Biscuit, I think before the show. Where if you say it goes the other way, I know we won 5 out of 7, but say the Marlins take 5 of 7 from us, or even 6 of 7 or something like that, you could possibly miss the playoffs because of them if they got that 2 spot. So I mean, to what Biscuit and Borek alluded to earlier, I think and you, Rob, I think you have to come out and win at least 4. That way you kind of keep that you get an extra game out of this, because this is the last time you're facing them this year. So you got to make sure. You got to make sure you get that game up here and get the leverage there, especially in any tiebreaker situation that could possibly make or break the season.
Yeah, well, it would be the perfect time for what would probably be baseball's only 7-game sweep ever, or at least the first one.
I was actually wondering that if there's ever been a 7-game sweep.
I know that I think it was the Yankees pulled off a 5-game sweep over the Red Sox up at Fenway a few years ago. And I think someone else pulled off a 5-game sweep against somebody, within the last couple of years. But I don't think a 7-game sweep has ever been pulled off before. So it'll be the first. It'll be nice to get that for the first time.
A historic franchise like the Philadelphia Phillies. That sounds like something with the most losses in any team history that they'll proudly accept. So
it's also something they would probably somehow do, because the Phillies don't make any sense.
I'm sorry if the Phillies lose 7 games to the Miami Marlins, I will be honest
So
to
I meant
everyone. Oh, if we win 7 games, I'm gonna run down Broad Street naked. But if the Marlins win 7 games against the Phillies, I'd probably run down Broad Street naked as well. But it wouldn't be fun run. It wouldn't be a fun run. No,
Biscuit would be attacking people running down.
how does this happen? Oh God, no.
Oh man.
I hope they win. Like I said, this is just they need to just prove that they can consistently beat bad teams. The Mets haven't played well. The Nationals haven't played well. I know the Mets, have played better as of late, taking the last 2 from us. But at the same time, it's not like they're really in much of a postseason picture at this point either. And they've done well against those teams. It's these pesky Marlins. They're like little pests. Like, they just need to nip this problem once and for all. They are a better team on paper. It needs to correlate to the field.
Yeah, it really does. And that's been the issue with the Phillies. They always seem to kind of play down to the teams that are worse than them, and they play up to the teams that are better than them. So, hopefully they can finally right the ship and, continue playing up to the teams that are better, but also play above the teams that are worse. And that includes the Marlins.
Yep.
Anyway, we're officially a few games ago past the halfway point in this shortened season. I want to talk about some of the guys who have stood out for the Phillies this year. And just real quick, we can go through these. Biscuit, we'll start with you. First off, who do you think is, if the season ended right now, who would be the Phillies MVP for this season?
Ooh, good question. My heart wants to tell me to go with Bryce or JT, but I'm gonna, fuck it. I'm gonna go with Rhys Hoskins for right now, just because you really don't get the last, 10 of 11 with him not being as hot as he's been. He's been a huge, contributor over the last, couple weeks, and in the time when Bryce and JT cooled off, he's really been the guy so far. And we don't really, looking back where we were 2 weeks ago when we were 9-14, Bryce and JT were really swinging it, but we looked as far out of the postseason picture as we possibly could. We were 5 games under 500. Really looked like we were just about to tank. And Rhys put it together, and everyone else kind of stepped up as well. But him specifically, he now, I believe, leads the team in OPS. On base percentage, I believe his average is up in like the 270s now, might be a little below after today. But he's just been, such a huge contributor over the last couple weeks. And his numbers weren't great to start the season, but he was still getting on base. And that alone was really what was really keeping him afloat. So it's really good to see him turn around. And like I said, just because he's been the contributor over our winning streaks the last couple weeks, I'll give it to Rhys.
Okay. Andrew, what about you? Who's your midseason MVP for the Philadelphia Phillies?
I'm going to go with the newcomer, Didi Gregorius. And the reason why I pick him is I think, again, Hoskins, like you mentioned, Biscuit, he's carried us to this 10 of 11. Harper carried us the first half. But I like the consistency Gregorius has had all year. It's not like he's been in a slump for a while and then kind of got on or was on and now he's in a slump. That's what Harper and Hoskins and now JT have even been, where they go on these hot streaks and they're slumping. I feel like Gregorius has been the most consistent guy on the team. I feel like you know what you're going to get. You're going to get the hustle out of him. I feel like his defense outside of a play here or there has been phenomenal as well. And I like the leadership he brought in as well. I mean, he kind of, to me, I think he's been a big part of helping Segura make that transition to third. I know he didn't get out to the start everyone wanted, and he still probably isn't at the spot everyone wants him to be, but he has looked better than he has at the beginning of the year, and we all keep hearing about how Gregorius is still working with him and stuff, and I feel like the leadership that Gregorius has brought into the team as well gives him the edge here for MVP, because I feel like that's a true leader like that also outside off the field really helps to get a team going, and I know he's kind of. And that was something when we signed him to. He's played on Girardi before, so he knows kind of Girardi's system. So it is on him a little bit to come in here and make that kind of impact. And I think he's started to live up to it. And we'll see if we possibly re-sign him or not. But I think to right now, he'd be my MVP.
All right. And Borek?
Yeah, well, my MVP's Phil. No, I'm kidding.
We know he's your boy. Don't go that far just yet.
My MVP, honestly, I was going to go with Bryce, but because of the energy he brought in, I might honestly, if he keeps hitting the way he's going, give Bohm the MVP and Rookie of the Year of our team. Because teams also go off of energy, not just how you're necessarily hitting like freaking Ty Cobb when you get called up. They also go off of the energy level that you bring, and he brought great energy into the locker room. He came up obviously shortly thereafter his call up. We went on our on a winning streak, and he looked very good during it, hitting off a good pitch and going the other way. He has 10 RBIs and 2 homers and like a 760, something like that. So he's been really solid to start his career. And other than today when he forgot to look at the ball, he's been fielding the past couple games better than we expected, other than today. So because of the energy brought to help our winning streak, and because you two said the other two people I was going to say, I would go with Alex Bohm and say he can be the Rookie of the Year and the MVP, because if he continues to hit 280 and say he has 6 home runs by the end of the season, he has 2 now, that's pretty good in the 60 game to develop his power. Plus, if he keeps doing that in the playoffs, if we make it, and if he keeps doing that, well, we should, then we'll be set. So I really like how he's looked since coming up, and they're really working with him on defense. And from what I've read and followed, it seems like he's really buying into everything they say. So.
Yeah, those are all very valid answers. I'm personally going to go with someone different as well who hasn't been mentioned. I'm going to go with JT, and he's still the BCIB, despite the fact that he's been struggling lately. He's still the best defensive catcher out there. The bat was great in the beginning of the season, and it is going to come around. I am fully faithful in that. But yeah, him and Bryce were the guys who carried the team in the first half of the season, and he was arguably just as good as Bryce was. You know, Bryce was great and JT was great. And once he gets back to hitting well once again, I think that this team will be in great shape, and he's going to be a big reason for it. So my first half MVP, JT Realmuto. So now we'll move on to the pitching staff, and Andrew, we'll start with you this time. Who is your first half Cy Young for the Phillies? We all know it's going to come down pretty much to between two guys, but you can go with anyone here.
I'm going to go again with the newcomer and Zach Wheeler. I think he's come in and has impressed me very, very well here. He comes in. I think he's been a little more consistent than Nola has been. We've kind of touched on it too a couple times. Is Nola has found ways to get out of jams and get out of things. Overall, obviously Nola's looked great and stuff. And but like today we mentioned, he kind of didn't have the command or control we're used to seeing, and it seems like we've said that a couple times. So I think Wheeler's been the most consistent. He knows what we're going to get out of him, a lot of ground balls and stuff, and he's only given up 2 home runs to date on the season, which is another great number there. So I think I'm going to go with Zach Wheeler.
Okay. Biscuit, what about you?
Everything Andrew said, double. Zach Wheeler's been awesome. Look, 4-0 record, 220 earned run average. His WAR is 2.2, and it is, I believe, the 5th best for all starters in the major league. Aaron Nola is really right there with him with a 2.2 WAR as well. So they actually are really tied for that 5th spot. But Wheeler specifically, look, every start has been so good. He's looked so dominant. I think the only real hiccup start so far was that game against Baltimore, when I think he might have given up like 3 runs through 5 innings. And that was really the only, I guess, low point for the season that he's had in the season at this point. I think, you got to look too this way. Out of all the starters who were hitting the market this prior offseason, and Garrett Cole, Steven Strasburg, Zach Wheeler was kind of, the one in the shadows compared to those two. But he's really exceeded and outperformed both of those guys. Obviously, Cole, not off to a terrible start with New York, but he's not doing anything so flashy. And Strasburg is injured. So this deal really looks like it's really paying dividends so far for the Phillies. And my personal favorite game was the 7 innings of 2-run ball against the Mets for his first time facing his former team. So whenever you can stick it to the Mets like the Phillies and Zach Wheeler have, I have no complaints, and he's been awesome.
Oh, man. Always taking a jab at the Mets whenever you can. I can always count on that. Borek, I think I know which direction you're going to go in because he's been your boy since the start of the season, but Just why don't you just clarify your position here on who you think the Phillies Cy Young is?
Yeah, it's Zach Wheeler. I'm not wavering from that. I thought it would be that at the beginning of the season, and so far that stayed the case. He's also been our stopper a couple times already, so he has a chance to be that again. Like, hey guys, we sucked the past 2 games. Don't worry, I'm here. And then, like, he's done that already a couple times this season. So hopefully that continues tomorrow because, like Biscuit said, he has a chance to put a stamp on the Mets again and say, yeah, about you guys losing faith in me. You all suck. So hopefully that happens tomorrow.
You know what? I'm going to have to make it a clean sweep here. I love Nola. I projected that he was going to be slightly better than Wheeler. And after the start today, I mean, he actually, in terms of the stat line, he wasn't terrible. But yeah, Zach Wheeler he's been more consistent. His numbers are better. And, you know, I think he has been helped a little bit because generally Wheeler has gotten more run support than Nola has, which is something that, you know, when you go out there on the mound, you're able to pitch a little bit more comfortably when the team has more offense behind you. But even with that being considered, you know, Wheeler, they've both been very good. Let me just clarify that. I'm not saying that Nola has pitched poorly. He has been very good this season, but Zach Wheeler has been everything that we could have asked for and then some. And he doesn't show any signs of slowing up. In fact, he looks better and better with each start. So hopefully that trend will continue towards and then into the postseason. So a clean sweep amongst us, 4-for-4, Zach Wheeler for the Phillies. First half of the abbreviated season, Cy Young. Do you guys have anything else that you want to throw into this episode before we call it a day?
Well, while we're on the subject, you know, we got to give credit to Nola where credit is due. He's, you know, take, you know, this game and the game against the Braves out of the equation and maybe the first start against the Miami Marlins as well. But he's been amazing. And it's so refreshing to see how dominant everyone really knows he is, because I think he left some doubt in certain individuals after last season. So this could have been, for me, could have been either or. I went with Wheeler just because he has been a little bit more consistent. But just the fact that we have like competent pitching, like who would have thought if we had one more starter outside of Aaron Nola, things wouldn't feel like the sky was falling every 5 minutes. So it's just a refreshing. I love him as a 1-2 punch. I think he's very talented. You know, works really well with the staff. I love watching him and JT Realmuto as a duo. So fuck yeah.
Love it. All right, anyone else got anything else that they want to throw in here?
The only thing mine is Howard continues to show signs. He showed a good start prior to last game. We're obviously going to need him because we didn't trade for a starter to really take a next step in this final month, because you think going in he's going to be the guy most likely in a 3-game series that you would ideally want to pitch in that 3rd game. So
yeah, it probably comes down between him and Zach Eflin for that 3rd game.
There's no trying to pitching Jake Arrieta. I would rather pitch myself. So
hey, although if Arrieta pitches down the stretch the way that he did the other night, then maybe that changes a little bit.
Yeah, I still think I don't trust. I like Spencer Howard, but look, he can't go deep into games. Doesn't look like he's really, not that he's not ready, but I think he still needs to fine tune some things. And granted, like, he's using this season to still figure things out as well, but it's go time. And when it comes to consistency in that 3rd spot, like, although it should be him and he should be the pitcher competent enough to do that because he is probably the 3rd most talented pitcher in the staff right now. But he's just not there yet to eat the inning. So I think you really have to go with Zach Eflin and Jake Arrieta before him at this point in time.
Yeah, I would agree with that for the time being, although it'll be interesting to see how he does down the stretch, because they're going to need, the Phillies going to need the 3, 4, 5 guys to really step up with these 18 games in 14 days. They can't just rely on the 1 and 2 guys to be their aces. They're going to need good starting pitching all around if they want to survive this stretch here.
Exactly.
All right, so before we end this one real quick, I just want to give a shout out first off to the Jackdaws. They're responsible for our intro and outro music. You can find them on the internet at www.thejackdaws.com. Also, their Patreon account at patreon.com/thejackdaws. A really good Irish Celtic rock band. I love that music personally. If you're into that kind of music, definitely give them a listen. And I also want to give a shout out to Just Food. You can find them by phone at 215-794-3663. That's 215-794-FOOD. You can find their location in Buckingham Green, Buckingham, Pennsylvania, off of York Road. Their owner, Asian Rob, is a great friend of the Chasing the Pennant podcast. So if you live nearby, if you live in the Buckingham area, be sure to stop in, pay them a visit. They have a really great selection of food. If you're looking for something to eat while you're watching the game or for any occasion, they can, fulfill any of your food-related needs there. Once again, Just Food, 215-794-3663, located in Buckingham Green, off of York Road in Buckingham, Pennsylvania. We thank you for listening to this episode of the Chasing the Pennant podcast, and we'll be back with another one in just a few days.
Man, I used to be revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, danced a jig over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still happy life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.